And joining us on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line is my NFL Game Day morning compadre, also the voice of Monday Night Football, along with Kevin Harlan on Westwood One, Pro Football Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Kurt?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
Better for talking to you. I do miss you. But
I miss you too.
You know
it's
what?
Coming soon.
I know we're going to spend way too much time together in short order, so that's coming soon. Let's just jump right into it. I don't know if you've gleaned already from this introduction that I'm on my A game because I did my independent study this week, Kurt. My NFL Network issued tablet. I hit it. I did the required studying. That's my setup for what'd you think of that?
I was going to say you have required a required amount of time you have to study.
I guess so.
Okay, all right.
I need to check the fine print. That's my way of getting in and ask you what'd you think of all that. What'd you think of all that, Kurt?
Man, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's, I think that's something that it really should be between the organization and the player. I mean, obviously, there was something there that the Cardinals felt they needed to have that clause in the contract. And Kyler obviously had no problem signing that part of the contract. If all I would have said is if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to put this clause in your contract," I'd have signed it as well because it's like, okay, I mean, I do way more than that anyway, so I'll sign whatever clause they want. I think the question more is why did the Cardinals feel there was a need for that? But I thought Kyler made really, some good points yesterday, but specifically that there's a lot of different ways to prepare for getting ready for a game. And it's not just film study. It's not just watching your opponent's film. I talk to quarterbacks all the time about knowing who they are as a quarterback because your preparation should be designed around who you are. I think about Peyton Manning, and I don't even know the answer to how much film Peyton watched, but so much of what he did was based off of what the defense did. If they were going to do this, he was going to change the play to that. I was a guy that was less dictated, before the snap by what a defense did, and I played more after the snap. So much of my preparation was spent studying what we were going to do, what our offense was going to do, what formations we were going to run certain plays out of. So I knew that so well that when a defense did something, I could react and play. So, how would that show up? What would that look like? How would a team know how much time I spent prepping that way as opposed to watching the opponent's film? So there's just a lot of ways to do it, and I don't know the premise behind why this clause was in there or what the Cardinals didn't see. But the bottom line is you have to get yourself ready to play on Sunday afternoons. Whatever that prep schedule looks like, it looks like. Everybody does put in work, but there was some disconnect there that the Cardinals wanted to see something different. And to me, it sounded like Kyler agreed to whatever different it was. And then you had the press conference.
Well, nobody in my life watches more film that I know of than you. And for your QB Confidential that you do all the time, and also for us on NFL Network, and for you for everything that you do. Any time watching Kyler Murray film, did you get the sneaky suspicion that he wasn't fully prepared? Were you making throws or situations where he didn't look like he's ready to roll?
I mean, I think the bigger, Rich, when I watch film, I'm always breaking down these QBs, and I break them down a lot based on how I played the game, or more specifically, how they play in the pocket. Do they know, what they're looking at? Is their timing good? All of those different things. And so does Kyler have some work to do in that regard? Yeah, he does. I mean, he's a young quarterback that's growing. He's a quarterback that for so long has been able to depend on his physical gifts, whether that be moving or throwing, that I think a lot of times those guys, and again, this isn't a knock on those guys, they get further and further being able to focus on athleticism and making plays. And as no fault of their own, they're not forced to learn how to play the position like a guy like me, that hey, when I got to whatever stage that was, high school, college, where it's like, I'm not the best athlete on the field. I better figure out how to do this a different way. I'm forced to do some of those things earlier. And so I learned to play the game differently at an earlier stage. Usually the athleticism catches up to guys where at some point they've got to know how to do that to a really high level if they're going to play at the highest level. I think that's something that Kyler's still learning because he's been able to fall back on the athleticism so much throughout his career. And, and again, I'm not just going to put Kyler there because there's a lot of young quarterbacks that are, at the stage going into year 4 that are learning all of those nuances. There are some guys that have been in the league for 10 years that are still getting better at that. And so you could point to some of that stuff and go, well, maybe it's because he's not watching enough film or he's not. I don't know if that's the answer or if it's just a young guy learning how to play the position and having room to grow.
That's a very nuanced answer to a yes or no question, Kurt. I'll be very honest with you.
Everything I do is nuanced.
No, I know that. But I have sat next to you.
Yes or no question.
I know. I have sat next to you while you were pointing out to me somebody's film work, and I'm not going to say any names, but they're future first ballot Hall of Famers, and you'd say, "What was this guy looking at?" You would say that a lot, and I would never sit there and think that's because they're not studying, and that's why this thing is kind of surprising. And Murray said it himself. Well, if you think I've gotten to this point without having a great work ethic at my body type and my shape and my, level of excellence, then that I'll take that as a compliment. So that's why I don't know where this.
Let me say this too, though, Rich. I recall reading this, and if I'm wrong, I'll take ownership of that. But I thought I recalled reading an article that Kyler, did a year ago or so
in the New York Times. Yep.
Yeah, where they were talking about, watching film and how much he studied. And I thought one of his comments was, I don't have to do as much as some other guys because the game kind of just comes natural to me and I just kind of see it. And so, okay, well, that may be true, but maybe things like that lend itself to this kind of clause where, yeah, Kyler's been really good at times in his NFL career. We know that. And there's been other times he's struggled, and especially, in the bigger moments, I should say against some of the better teams, he struggled at times. Maybe that, kind of comment, those kinds of things led to, hey, maybe we can help him take that next step. He's been really good, but let's help him take that next step. And maybe part of it is, the organization saying film study. Film study might help that, so let's put that clause in the contract.
Kurt Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show, my Hall of Fame compadre from NFL Game Day Morning, Westwood One, and so much more. You spent some time for Inside Training Camp, I saw yesterday, with Trey Lance. What did you glean in San Francisco?
Man, great kid. I never had met him before. I'd heard some great things. It was great just talking to him both off camera and on camera, talking to everybody throughout the organization. Really excited to have him as their leader. Not a knock on Jimmy at all. Simply just they love the kid, and they said they've seen the progress. Talking to guys like George Kittle saying, man, it's been fun to watch the growth and see him get better. And so they're excited about what he can bring to the table. Watching the second day of practice, I would say the defense won the battle against Trey more than Trey won, but that's also common early in training camp that the defense is ahead of the offense, especially with a young guy that hasn't played much. But just liked his demeanor, loved everything that he had to say, the way that he was working, and loved what I was hearing from everybody there collectively. We're really excited about the season, and now it's it's going to be exciting to see where he's at in year 2 and what to expect from him. I asked him one of the questions in my interview is that, you're not taking over a team that's not very good. You're taking over a team that went to the NFC Championship game last year. Does that, create more pressure or less pressure? And, he didn't really answer the question, but I'm interested to see, does he feel more pressure and feel like he's got to do a lot because this is a team that was so good a year ago? Or can he step back and just say, hey, I'm around a really good team. I don't have to do everything, and I don't have to force the issue, and I don't have to live up to all of those expectations early in the season. So something that I'm looking forward to watching as we get started.
Well, I'm not going to ask you, can he pull it off? Because, you're the man from the Northern Iowa who had a movie made about that very question. Can somebody pull it off for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations otherwise and step in? Clearly, him stepping in this moment is different than the manner in which you wound up stepping in St. Louis. So what is his biggest challenge, Kurt Warner, from your perspective? What do you got?
Yeah, I would say that his biggest challenge is just being able to manage the different situations that he's going to face. And again, I liken it to my situation is that I sat on the bench for 4 years in college as well, not just playing at the level that he played at, but really played about as many games, just a few less games. But then I also had 3 years of arena football and 1 year of Europe before I came back to the NFL. And what I felt about all that time that I was out of the league and playing those other leagues was I got to experience a lot of different situations. I got to play a lot of football that I didn't get to play in college. And so when I came back to the NFL, I was so much more ready for those things. That arena football was like a 2-minute drill every time I touched the ball. The expectation of scoring and winning. And I think those are some of the things that, we're going to see how he handles those things that he hasn't really faced very much in his career because he hasn't played a lot of football. And so being able to manage and handle the pressure of those situations, I think, will be the biggest challenge for him.
Kurt Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show. I've been asking all of my friends and colleagues who have come on this week this question, and you're the next one, Kurt Warner. The most intriguing team in the NFL entering 2022 for you is which?
Wow, most intriguing.
Yes, sir.
How are people answering it?
Okay, Mark.
Sure.
Mark Schlereth threw out Tampa Bay.
Okay.
And I would agree with that because of the Brady of it all and the Todd Bowles of it all and how this could be Brady's final window. Julio Jones is now on that team. Daniel Jeremiah, our colleague from NFL Network, said Minnesota. Field Yates of the worldwide leader in sports went with the Los Angeles Chargers. I've been saying the Raiders are going to win that division. I'm just tap dancing a little bit so you can figure out what your answer is, Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering if you were going with intriguing for teams that, could maybe win it all or maybe come out.
It could be Detroit. Tirico went Detroit. Tirico went Detroit. I think he went with that one. So
I'm going to go with Green Bay. For some of those similar reasons that Mark went with Tampa is that, you got Aaron Rodgers, getting closer to the end. And, I think we all want to see him get another run to the Super Bowl and have that opportunity with how great he's been. No Devontae Adams. So we've, heard the joke from, Aaron this week, Hall of Famer to Hall of
Famer.
That was who's going to step up on the outside to help Aaron, become? Do we see more of Aaron's greatness because now there is no Devontae Adams? Does this team look completely different? Do they start to run the football? And, is their pass game, could it possibly be a complementary piece when you have Aaron Rodgers? Can they get back there without that guy? You look at Tampa, they just signed Julio Jones. I mean, they got that guy everywhere. If all those guys play that well, they've got a number one guy everywhere across the board, where Aaron, I don't know if he's got any of those guys. So I think that's a situation that's intriguing because the AFC is loaded. You can look at a lot of those teams and be intrigued by them. NFC, to me, there's not nearly as many of those really, really good teams. You got Tampa, you got the Rams for sure. Who else is going to get in the mix? You got to believe Green Bay is going to be around, but do they have enough to really compete with those top teams in the NFC?
And that's my last question for you. Are the defending Super Bowl champs, and your concerns or your thoughts on their ability to repeat? It seems like they're just going to run it back. Obviously, no Whitworth. Having Allen Robinson there is fascinating to me as well. What do you think about the Rams entering this year as a contender to repeat?
I think we say this a lot with those teams that win it. I look at this team and I go, why not? More than anything is that what did they lose that says they can't go back?
Right.
And you talked about some of the things that they've gained and the talent they have and the way that they can win. I always say that. To me, teams that win championships are teams that can win different ways. And this is a team, to me, that can win on a lot of different levels with the talent and the players that they have. So, I say, why not the Rams? I still think they're the best team in the NFC across the board. But as we know, Rich, every year, it's not always just about who's the best team. It's about staying healthy. It's about doing things at the right time. I mean, look at, just Tampa, possibly losing Ryan Jensen right off the bat. And what do those things mean? And so, there's a lot to be determined. And I think staying healthy when you're trying to repeat becomes, sometimes the biggest challenge. And so it'll be something that I'll watch probably more than anything this year with the Rams.
All right, Kurt, you ready for the grind? You ready to roll? Ready for those early morning wake-ups on Sunday? What do you think?
I am ready. I am ready to get me some film study in.
Okay.
Let's have somebody's got to play a little bit so I can start watching some film.
Well,
I'm excited about it.
Wait a minute. So that means you're not doing your independent study right now? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I do my independent study for other things.
Okay.
As we prepare. But I like to, like you asked me about the Rams.
Yes.
I can go back and watch film from the Rams from last year, but that doesn't tell me anything about what they're going to be this year necessarily. So I look forward to week one where I can just start diving into seeing who these teams are, especially like with these quarterback changes. I want to see Matt Ryan in Indy. I want to see what that looks like. I want to see Russell Wilson in Denver with those young receivers and what that looks like. So I'm excited for that part of it to really figure out who these quarterbacks are going to be in their new situations.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an excuse. I'll be honest with you. There's independent study time, Kurt, that you have to do, and that sounded like you were dodging. I'm not going to lie.
I was actually just going to jump on my computer and watch some film today to see how much Patrick Mahomes gets past his number one read.
Did you see?
I was thinking about doing that to throw it up on my YouTube. So
Kurt,
that might be my film study for today.
You're referring to a line from an anonymous defensive coordinator in the Athletic piece that Mike Sando aggregated from a whole host of analysts and observers and coaches in the league. How is there a defensive coordinator in the NFL who says Mahomes is a street ball guy that doesn't get past his first read? How does something like that happen, Kurt? Seriously.
I think first we have to take it in context.
Come on.
Is that, the first part of it, if you just read it like that, you're exactly right. I mean, Patrick is so good, and he does so many things well that just on the surface, like, if we take away his first read, then whatever. He's not very good. I mean, even at street ball, he's better than most guys at street ball. So, but what you have to realize with defensive coordinators is that all of us as quarterbacks have flaws. We have things, and again, we have things that we're not as good at as other things. And so what I believe that coordinator was really saying was, we got to figure out, how do we stop Patrick Mahomes? So how we stop him is we try to take the first or the early reads away, and we try to force him to get away from the context and force him to try to make some of those special plays. Does he make them? Yes. Do they lose very often? No. But when they lose, I believe that coordinator was saying this is why they lose when they lose, is because teams are able to take that away from him and force him to do other things. Every coordinator is going to have a book on a quarterback and go, no matter how great they've been, this is what we need to get that guy to do, and now we have a chance, right? Let's get pressure on Brady. Oh, come on, he's the best to ever play. He's the best under pressure ever. Well, yeah, but when you get pressure on him, that's when he loses games. That, to me, is what that comment was about. We get so hung up with, oh, my gosh, some coordinator said that, there's a flaw or that somebody can't do this. No, as a coordinator, you just got to get in your mind, like, God, this guy's so good. Like, but I got to get some confidence in my guys. Like, hey, if we get him to do this, he'll throw interceptions or he'll make mistakes, and we have a chance to beat him. I don't think that, that coordinator was ever saying, hey, this guy's not any good at this. If we just do this, Patrick Mahomes is never going to win a game. No, he's a great quarterback that does so many things well. We're just trying to force him to get to this point, because now that gives us a chance.
I don't know, man. That might just be you being your usual gracious self there, Kurt. I mean, I read the quote over and over and over again, and we'll put it up on the screen in a second.
Either way, I'll do the film study for us. and I'll let everybody know what I see.
You do that. In the meantime, you take care of yourself. And one of the things that you and I have in common is we're married to very strong-willed, terrific women. You have Brenda. I have Susie. Right now, I have Susie with me on the air right now. Suze, you want to say hi to Kurt?
Oh, wow.
Hi,
What's up,
Kurt.
Suze?
Hi.
You've been sitting there without saying a word this whole time?
Well, I walked in late because I can't get fired. I was getting my makeup done, so I had to prioritize. I think you can relate to that. So I walked in quietly and listened to the film study in the background. So please don't watch
pretty
TV. Don't watch TV. Don't watch TV while you're studying film.
Yes.
Just make sure that you focus.
We are experts
on
on locking down on second screen time in our household for independent study time.
Usually what I'm doing, Suze, is I'm watching film and focusing on the film. And then I got the Rich Eisen Show in the background, so I can pick up the big landscape of what's going on, the big picture, what's been written about that day. Wow, I'm also doing my film study.
Kurt is not spelled with an I; it's spelled with a U.
I want you to have one eye on the Rich Eisen Show,
Yes.
one eye on Brenda Warner at all times, because that is one sexy fox.
And then his heart on the film study. I think that's the way
I got
we go.
two eyes on Brenda, but my ears will be tuned into Rich.
Attaboy. I appreciate that. That's the beauty of being a simulcast. Kurt, thanks for the time. Do I see you in Canton next week? Are you
yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll be covering it, but obviously Coach V's going in, Coach Vermeil's going in.
Oh, that's right.
I will be down there for sure.
Yeah, he's the last speaker. Bust out the tissues.
The tissues.
Yes, no
It's
doubt.
coming.
No doubt. Can't wait.
We're gonna rally. We're gonna rally around that speech, and we're gonna finish up that day with that speech. It's gonna be great.
That's right. It's going to be awesome.
We'll see you in Canton, Kurt Warner.
You guys. We'll talk to you guys soon.
The great Kurt Warner at Kurt13 Warner on Twitter and Instagram, right here on the Rich Eisen Show.